This is the EverBrite rechargeable LED headlamp. I was sent this to review for free. If you wanted to purchase it, it would cost you about $14. They haven't paid me for this video, and my opinions remain my own. So in the box we have a USB-A to C charging cable. We have the headlight itself, along with several pieces of paper. So there is a large poster that shows some of their other products. We have the instructions manual for the headlight itself and a thank you card. Alright, so the headlight itself weighs in at 3.39 ounces or 96 grams. So this guy has a rubber port on the bottom, the USB-C port for charging. There's a little light that I'm going to assume indicates when the charge is complete. And it has in here 3 different LED bulbs, and it has a lot of different modes. So this guy can do red or green as long as white light. It has a spotlight, it has a floodlight, there's a couple of flash modes, and there is a single button to control all those modes. So it's going to be a little bit overloaded on the user interface on that button. Now, to wear it, it has this little flippy thing here that can go down about 60 degrees, and then a elastic strap with some straps to adjust the length around your head. Alright, so use of this button isn't as complicated as I was worried it might be. You push it and you get the spotlight. Push it again, you get the floodlight. Push it a third time, you get the spotlight and the floodlight. So it says that the spotlight is 300 lumens, the floodlight's 300 lumens, and it says together they're 700 lumens. So I don't know if in this mode it puts a little more current into them, or just they magically combine to make more lumens than the 600 you'd kind of expect from the two together. Now there's other modes where if you go into button again, it'll do red, it'll do a red strobe, or it'll do green. And so those are the sum total of the modes is spotlight, floodlight, combined, red strobe, and green. Now if you're in a mode like the spotlight mode, you push and hold and it'll start to dim, and when it gets to its dimmest setting it'll do a double flash. So that's, you know, the dimmest spotlight mode. If you push and hold again, as long as you keep holding it down, it's going to go up and get brighter until it's to its brightest spot and it double flashes. Now it will remember whatever you put it in, so if you have it, for example, in a red mode, if you wait 5 seconds, when you push the button it turns off. When you turn it back on, it'll come back into that red mode. So if I were to push and hold this, it's going to get dimmer and dimmer and dimmer until it does the double flash. So that is the dimmest red mode, which as an astronomer is probably what I'll be using most of the time. And so if I turn it off and then turn it back on, it'll come back into that mode as long as I just tap the button to turn it on and off. Now here I tapped the button too quickly, and so it switched modes into the flash mode. And so now I need to flip through the modes to get back to the red mode. I need to wait 5 seconds to enter the on off ability, and then I can push the button to turn it off again. Alright, this is the spotlight on the wall. This is floodlight. I have here combined spotlight and floodlight. This is the dimmest red, which you can't see. Alright, this is bright red. You may or may not be able to see that light. I think reflecting off of the white baseboard there is the most visible where the red light is. This is the red flashing strobe light. And this is the green light. Alright, this is my utility room, my traditional dark room testing location. And, you know, this guy is plenty bright for me to see, like if I'm needing to work on anything, it's plenty bright for that. So plugging this into the USB-A to C cable, it turns on the meter here. It's at a 5 volt and it's charging at a ½ amp. So it's drawing 2.8 watts. So pretty much any USB-A port you plug that cable into is going to be able to provide the half amp, 2.9 watt charging rate. So this LED next to the cable is red while it's charging. Now whenever I have one of these small devices that uses a USB-C port, I want to make sure it'll support power delivery charging. So this is a USB-C power delivery cable, and it does successfully negotiate that same 5 volt at half amp rate, but it will charge with any USB-C cable. Like if you have a power delivery phone charger, that will also be able to charge this. Alright, I've reset the watt hour counter. We are going to charge this up. We'll see how much power it takes to charge it up fully, as it was shipped from the factory. So according to the specifications here, it has a 1.2 amp hour battery, a 3.7 volt battery. So that's about a 4.4 watt hour battery inside. Now also according to the specifications, it's supposed to last 5 hours in either the Spotlight or the Floodlight mode, and if you have the combined Spotlight and Floodlight, it's supposed to last 3 hours. The light turned green, it is drawing 0 amps, 0 watts. It took 2 watt hours to charge this guy up, so if it's assuming it has a 4 watt hour battery, it was about 50% charged when it was shipped to me. Alright, I've put this thing on my head. I've turned it on to the brightest setting, which is the Spotlight plus the Floodlight, and I'm going to wear this thing with my stopwatch going, and we will see when it turns off. It'll also be a test of how comfortable it is to wear for 3+ hours. Alright, it is 3:30 p.m. and we have turned on the headlight. Alright, it is 6:27 p.m. and this light just turned off. So that was 3 minutes less than 3 hours, so pretty close to their runtime estimate in the manual. So when the battery's low and you push the button, it just flashes on and then turns off. Alright, so this guy's charging at the 3 watt rate. I have reset the watt hour. We will see how many watt hours it takes to charge it back up from completely empty. And this guy's recharged. It took 6 watt hours to recharge it, so I think that 4.4 watt hour battery claim seems very reasonable. So this is the Spotlight facing the tool wall. I'm going to move it up to the ceiling and then back down. Right, so this is Spotlight. This is the fill light. You can see as I'm moving my head around, it only really goes down. You get right near the edges. The fill light is a good, 90+ degree light. And this is fill plus Spotlight. Personally, I think if I were working, the fill light would be plenty for me. So, just the fill light covers the whole area. I can look all around and without moving my head, and that light's covering the whole area. So here's this fill plus Spotlight. You can see that it's primarily up there where the tools are, but the fill light is filling in elsewhere as well. So the green light doesn't quite give you as much fill as the fill light, but it definitely gives you more distance visibility than the red light. Alright, so this is the red light going against my tool wall about 25 feet away. This is the highest intensity. I'm going to move this down to the lowest intensity. So this is, map reading, doing something with astronomy, and you can see it's pretty dim there. I can see the tools on the wall, but you can't see them in the camera. Now I can see where I'm walking, so I do have to push down. So I walked up to the wall here. Now you can kind of see the tools on the wall. If I look at the floor, you can kind of see there's the floor down there, but you really do have to point the light down if you're walking to look at the floor, and then you have to move it back up to see things ahead of you. So at the dimmest level, that light is pretty darn dim, and I think it'd be perfectly suitable for astronomy use. So here's my work table at the highest level. Dimming it back down. that's the low dim level. And so, you know, if I'm at this work table looking at something, you can certainly see what you're doing, but it is not at all bright. So it'd be perfectly fine, I think, for astronomy usage. All right, here I am outside. I'm going to turn on the light, and this is with the headlight turned on. This is the full spotlight and fill light. So this is the red beam. You know, it's certainly enough to see where you're walking, you know, to make sure you're not hitting anything in the ground. It's not super bright, and you can see stuff with it pretty well. Here's the flashing mode. This is green. The green is definitely brighter than the red to the human eye. I don't plan on using green myself, but I know some hunters like it. All right. So this is the spotlight mode with just the spotlight. This is the wide angle beam mode here. And this is the spotlight and the wide angle beam mode. So this is another example of the spotlight. And it is plenty bright for walking around outside. Most of the time I would make this dimmer. Alright, so I was pretty impressed with this light. At such a low price point, you know, it met all of its specifications. It ran for the full 3 hours at the full brightness. It took 6 watt-hours to charge, so I'm pretty confident in saying that yes, it does have at least a 4.4 watt-hour battery inside. Lots of modes. I especially appreciate the red light mode, and I like the ability to, you know, make it really bright or make it really dim. My camera can't see super well at night, and so the views you get with the human eye are going to be much better than you've seen in my camera from this review. I was pretty impressed. I mean, it's not like one of those 100-watt bicycle lights that just, you know, blinds ahead of you. But for a human moving around, I believe you could, you know, trail run with this light, with the spotlight on. It's bright enough to see pretty far ahead of you at night while you're moving around. So, you know, I think in most cases you could even dim it down significantly and get extended runtime and still have plenty of light for most activities. So I'm pretty happy with this guy. You know, like I said, I wore it for 3 hours. It was very comfortable to wear for an extended period of time like that. It charges on USB-C power delivery. It successfully negotiates power delivery charging. Any USB socket will charge this guy. And so, you know, I think it's a pretty darn good value for the money.